two definitions when you look at it in Webster. It defines it as a lack of success or a falling short. So literally, Webster took the definition right out of Romans. We all fall short. That's failure. We fail to live up to God's standard. Right? Okay, now my personal favorite definition, I didn't put this in the notes because I didn't want to ruin this for you guys, right? My personal favorite definition of failure is this. It comes from the Urban Dictionary. I look at 3 dictionaries when I look for definitions. Webster's, Google's, and then the Urban Dictionary, because you find some great ones in the Urban Dictionary, right? And the Urban Dictionary defines failure as the New England Patriots 2007-2008 football season when they went 18-1. That one for you. They failed. Right? I'm sorry, that's funny. If y'all can't laugh at that, I don't know what to do. Now, the fear of failure, which has some name, I tried to learn how to pronounce it. No. It's a phobia. There's an actual medical name for it. The fear of failure has a little bit different definition, and it goes like this. The fear of failure is when we allow that fear, the fear of failure, to stop us doing the thing that can move us forward to achieve a goal. And that's what this entire series is about. Learning how to get past the things that are stopping us from moving forward with God's plan for our life. So we're literally going to look at the fear of failure. Now, I don't think failing is the issue. Thomas Edison said this, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that it won't work." Yeah. Amen. That's right. Right? So failing isn't the issue. Right? It's when we let the fear, because we failed, stop us from attempting it again. Or moving forward to achieve a goal. That's the roadblock. It's not failure in itself. Okay? So, fear of failure, actually, because it is a phobia, there is a phobia that talks about the fear of failure. There are medical issues, physical and emotional symptoms that can happen because you deal with this fear, right? Physical symptoms like difficulty breathing, unusually fast heart rate, tightness or pain in your chest, trembling or shaking sensation, dizziness or lightheadedness, digestive distress, hot or cold flashes, sweating. Side effects, maybe. Okay? Now this sounds like me before I come up here to speak to you guys. Right? Now, you want to know what helps me? Stick around. We're not there yet. We're getting there. Just give me a few more minutes. We got some more stuff to talk about. All right? Okay? Now, it can cause emotional symptoms like intense feelings of panic or anxiety, overwhelming need to escape a situation that produces the fear, feeling of detaching from yourself, feeling like you've lost control over a situation, thinking you may die or pass out, generally feeling powerless over your fear. This is me when I walk into a spider web. I lose all sense of everything in life because spiders, well, they're spiders and I hate them and they should all just go away. So we can all agree, right? Like none of that sounds fun. None of it. It doesn't sound enjoyable. It doesn't sound like something you want to experience. But yet, if I had to guess, we've all experienced it in some way, shape, or form. So how do we deal with the fear of failing? There's a guy by the name of Ryan Leake. We're going to watch a video by Ryan Leake here in a little bit that I think has found the best solution that I can figure for how to deal with the fear of failure. Now, Ryan Leake came onto the pages of history. I say history, it really wasn't for history, but nobody probably here. Anybody heard of Ryan Leake? Fantastic. Okay, so he's not really historic, but he's awesome. I love the guy, right? So he started off, he became a YouTube sensation when he proposed to his wife at 7 o'clock in the morning and they were married later on that evening. They were engaged for 8 hours. And they created a 30-minute YouTube about the 8-hour event. Went viral. So one of the shows, because when you go viral, you get invited to like Ellen. And stuff like that, right? So he was invited to the Queen Latifah show, and his wife surprised him with getting to meet Kobe Bryant, because he was a basketball player, and he liked basketball, he followed it, he played in college, he just never pursued the NBA, right? So while he's racking his brain, because he's got this huge surprise that he's going to get to meet Kobe Bryant, he's trying to figure out what him and Kobe are going to have in common. And he comes to the conclusion that the only thing him and Kobe Bryant would ever have in common is if he joined the NBA. And he got onto an NBA team, then they could talk about basketball, right? So he's like, I'm going to do it. So he starts training and trains and trains and trains. And eventually, he gets to the point where he meets Kobe Bryant. Well, he's not in the NBA yet. So he just tells Kobe Bryant one break, I am chasing failure. Kobe's like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm working on a documentary that says, I'm trying to get into the NBA, and I am attempting and doing everything I can in my power. I'm chasing the fact that I know I'm going to fail. And I'm making a documentary to help people deal with fear of failure. And Kobe was like, I like that. When you're done with it, send it to me. And now he's like, oh, I actually got to do it. Right? So he starts writing letters to different NBA teams. The first one he sent a letter to was the Boston Celtics. And he was dumbfounded when he simply got a return letter saying, hey, we love this idea, but no, we're not going to do that for you. And eventually he wrote to the Phoenix Sun, which was the fourth team, and they said, hey, we love this. Be here Monday for your tryout. This is what happens. So what would you do if you knew you could not fail? Let me ask you this a different way. What is God calling you to do, but because you're afraid of failing God, you haven't started moving in that direction? Right? We define fear of failure. It's the fear that prevents us from moving in a direction towards a goal. For the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we've been talking about things that stop you. Fears, thoughts, patterns, fear of failure. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Chasing failure took Ryan further than chasing success ever did. Now, when I think about this, what a powerful question, right? Thought? It's amazing, right? When I think about this, I think about Joshua from the Old Testament, right? Can you imagine what he must have been thinking when he was the one left in charge after Moses? Right? It's Moses. This is the same people in the New Testament the Pharisees were infuriated with Jesus about, because Jesus kept putting himself up against Moses. It wasn't up against Joshua, it was up against Moses. Right? How am I supposed to do this? I didn't receive the 10 Commandments. I wasn't called out of the wilderness to set the Egyptians free, or the Israelites free from the Egyptians. I didn't get raised in a palace so I would have the connections to the people of Egypt to set us free. I didn't have any of it. I was a slave. Right? Those are all the things that Joshua could have been thinking. He could have been very fearful of failing, because why me? Yet, I believe instead Joshua stood on the promise that God gave him. In Joshua, when he said, wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. And I believe he was determined not to break the command God gave just a little bit further when he said, this is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Chase failure, Joshua, and do it courageously. And be strong about it. And do not be afraid, because that's what fear is, right? You're afraid. Do not be afraid or discouraged. Because like I said, failing is not the issue. It's being afraid of attempting because you're afraid to. That's the issue. And it's because Joshua was not afraid of chasing failure that Joshua and Caleb were the only two people that came out of Egypt that were allowed to step foot on the promised land. Joshua did something that not even Moses did. And yet, it was Jesus who always compared himself to Moses. Can you imagine what would have happened if Joshua would have compared himself to that? Like, no. Joshua was like, I don't care. I'm chasing failure. I'm going after what God's telling me to do. Even if I don't succeed, God is with me. And chasing failure will take you being both strong and courageous. But I also believe that chasing failure will take you further than if you ever chase success. And I know this personally. Because it wasn't until I stopped saying, I have to have my own house. I have to have enough money. I have to have the perfect job. I have to have all this stuff before I have a kid. Right? We've all done it, right? I have to have more money. I have to have more this. I have to have this. Until I'm ready to, I won't be ready to have a kid. I won't be able to be successful at being a parent if I don't have this stuff. It wasn't until I said, God, you know whether I'm ready. You know whether I have enough. Did me and Carol get the biggest blessing of our life when she became pregnant with JJ? And I still didn't think I was ready. But I was going to chase after that failure. And trust me, you can ask him, he's right there. I failed. A lot. You're not ready. Thank you. I failed as a father. Right? But I didn't let that stop me from being his father. God's sitting there like the coach in that moment going, come on, you got this. Don't stop, keep going. You got this. And maybe this morning, I'm going to go ahead and ask the worship team to come up. We're getting ready to close this thing off. Maybe this morning, you've never given your life over to Christ because you're afraid that you're going to fail God as a Christian. Maybe that's your fear. I don't live up to the standard of God. Good news. Neither do I. Neither does anybody else in this building. Yet he still sent his son to die so that we can chase after failure, knowing that God is with us. Because he has never left you. He has never forsaken you. He will never leave you. He will never leave you forsaken. He is always with you. So as we close out, I'm going to ask this question again. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Would you join the worship team? Would you become a teacher in the kids area? Would you join the parking lot team? Maybe you get in touch with the production team. Maybe, just maybe, you have a desire to deal with kids that are in the foster system. Maybe it's the homeless. Maybe it's human trafficking. But what would you do if you knew that you could not fail because God's calling you into doing it? You don't feel equipped. You don't feel ready. But what would you do? Failing is okay. It's okay. Being afraid to fail is not. So with every eye, go ahead and close your eyes, bow your heads. Father, this morning, as we bring this to a close, we saw you do it with Joshua. That you told him to be strong and courageous, that I will not leave you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. This morning, Father, as we sing this last song, do it again. We know that you will because we've read it. You did it again, and you did it again. You healed the blind. You raised the dead. You cured the lepers. You cast out demons. You did it again, and again, and again. So this morning, Father, I just ask that you speak to everybody in this building. Because your word says that perfect love casts out fear. You are perfect love. John wrote that God is love. Not that God was love, not that God could be love. God is love. So God cast out your fear. I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens you. And God did not give us a spirit of timidity or of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. You have the power to succeed inside of you. If you just don't be afraid to try. So this morning, as we sing this last song, I'm going to ask you to dig in deep and believe that God's going to do it again. Because he's done it before. He's going to do it again.